welcome to another episode of the Papa Bear Show. I am your host, LaShanya Brazel, aka Shanya Breeze, and I am here with my co-host, the handsome Imani Lucas, aka the Lukey Man. We hope you are all having an amazing month, and today we will be talking about the Million Father March. This show is also brought to you by the community for the community. I want to thank our sponsors, Black Fathers Inc., the California Department of Public Health, Papa Bear Village, and United and Guided, which is our community-based nonprofit organization. I will now pass it to my host, Mr. Imani Lucas.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Imani Lucas. Last week on Sunday, July 28th, they had the second annual Cowboy Parade at McClatchy Park. This parade and festival was done to celebrate Black cowboy history because a lot of it was forgotten. In fact, most of the first cowboys here in America were Black. The parade is also a message to show that we are just as much a part of American history as anyone else in America.
Absolutely, I do agree with that. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of Black cowboys and cow women that I would like to talk about. Bill Pritchett is a performer and actor. In 1889, he was introduced into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. That's Mr. Bill Pritchett. Bass Reeves was a runaway slave, gunfighter, farmer, scout tracker, railroad agent, and a deputy U.S. Marshal. And Mary Fields, known as Stagecoach Mary, was the first Black woman to work for the U.S. Postal Service and became a legend.
Yes. And I know that a couple years ago, I think it was Netflix that come out with the movie The Harder They Fall, which featured Bass Reeves and some of the characters that were Black cowboys back in the days. One of my favorite flicks, Breeze, because it brought like contemporary reggae music to an old Western movie. So like not the typical Western, all that kind of stuff. They came in with some reggae, a little hip hop, a little soul flavor. So I love that. But just commemorating those people that were Black cowboys, and just to see it happen at the big park where, from what I heard, it was just packed. It was, wall-to-wall people out there. Everybody showed face. Everybody was in wonder that, there were horses that could do tricks the way that the horses was out there doing tricks. So it was a really good event.
I heard the horses had dreads and they was out there sea walking and everything, stepping in the name of love and everything. I was like, well, I sure missed that. But I know it was the second annual, which says a lot about Sacramento. So that's pretty awesome that they were able to bring that back a second year. So moving on, about a week ago on July 21st, Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential race. Speculation points to the fact that Joe Biden was under a lot of pressure that made it uncertain if he could lead the Democratic Party. Many believe that he was unfit for running. He ends up endorsing Kamala Harris, which has her approval rating rise by 8% just after a week. Imagine that. This is going to be an interesting turnaround or change.
Just when I thought my student loans were going to be canceled, now I understand what happened. They didn't feel like President Biden was sane enough to come up with an outlandish proposal like cutting people's student loan debt out. And they rejected it, and look what happened. Yeah. And now after this, it kind of explains and puts it in perspective. Because
absolutely,
I still got student loan debt. It's proven that they did not trust the president enough to have him continue.
Yeah, I was hoping
he was forced to step down. Unfortunately, hopefully there'll be somebody new and young
that will understand.
Will cancel student loan debt.
I got loans from 1989. I need them loans long gone. So, absolutely. And so I want to now introduce our guest, Mr. Bakari Chavanu with the Black Parallel School Board, who is here with me also sitting on the Black Parallel School Board Executive Committee. And he's also going to talk to us about the Million Father March, which we are in our probably consecutively 12th year, but with the organization United and Guided 3 years in a row. So I'm going to go ahead and how you doing today, brother?
Well,
How's
thank you so
everything
much
going?
for having me on.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate this. This is
Absolutely.
really exciting to be here.
Yes.
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Tell us a little bit about the Black Parallel School Board and how you got started and why you're involved and engaged and what's your drive behind just the mission.
Well, yes, I've been an activist for a long time, and also as a former teacher, and then one of the one of the executive board members of Black Parallel School Board invited me to come in and start working with the organization. That's been about 8 years. And so I think that, it's important work to be done because these are our children and like our young scholars, as we always talk about, right? And so I got involved with that. And so I do a lot of the media work for them. And now we're doing some parent advocacy work. And the Million Father March and Parent Involvement Day are one of our other programs that we're doing. And we really appreciate to be partnering with, United and Guided and with the Million Father March. And pretty much y'all taking it over. I love it. And so, doing that good work. And so it's great to see the turnout today on Zoom. Really looking forward to more participation and things of that sort. Yep.
Yes, right, exactly. Did you want to ask a question?
So how long have you been involved with the Black Parallel School Board? And then, as you mentioned, like it's been a while since we've been doing the Million Father March together. Tell me how some of that started, before United Guided stepped in the picture.
Well, it got started before I came on board, right? And I think for the most part, we were trying to get fathers to come out and bring their kids to school. And it's all about, parents getting involved with their students, right? Getting involved with their kids in school, because that makes, a lot of statistics show that makes a huge difference when you're involved, particularly Black fathers when they're involved.
Yes.
So I was fortunate. I have, my kids, my son graduated from Sac Unified School District. And so I think it was really important that I be there. Same thing for my daughter as well. And so it was rough. It was hard. It's like with any parent going through. But so Black Parallel School Board has been doing things like that to try to get parents more involved. And so I think, we just asked them to come bring them to school. It would be ideal. We had this big long march, right? Of all these Black fathers. And one day that might happen. We have 100 Black fathers that come marching up there at the same time. But the idea was just to bring them there. And then when we hooked up with you guys in 3 years,
Yes.
I like what you all are doing in terms of having the tables out in front of the school, having the cowbells, and just welcoming people. I think that students should be welcomed to school like that. This makes a huge difference when you can have community folks from from everywhere just coming out and saying, you're going to have a positive year. You're going to make it this year.
Right.
It's not going to be like last year. You're going to be doing even better. Right, and I think that's the kind of thing that we want to happen, and our youth need it so badly, especially after COVID. I mean, a lot of our, kids that are still, I'll call them the COVID kids, are still suffering from what's going on back then. So yeah, that's what the Million Father March was about. And you remember back in the day, what was that, the 90s, when you had the huge Million Father March in Washington D.C. when Nation of Islam did that. And that was huge, so that's where the term comes from, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was very instrumental at the time. But Black fathers play a serious role in it, and fortunately, my wife and I were still together, and we were married when our kids bring it up. But even then, it was still rough. So you need any kind of support you can get for your kids, because it is a full-time, plus job, and to get them through, particularly in these times.
Right. And so I'm going to kind of, this question is for both Mr. Imani and you. How do we get the parents and fathers involved? What's the strategy for this year going forward? So
I would say getting the mothers not to micromanage everything, no. But my wife really, like most mothers, it's in their innate nature to just take over and run with things, right? And so she was like that, but she knew I was always going to be there, and to deal with things when it got too rough. And so I think in terms of just saying that these are your children, reminding fathers that these are your children. You brought them into the world and you're responsible for them. This is how you show your love for them. And it's to be there through thick and thin, And, like you're going to have, like my daughter was our first child. It was harder for her because she was our first child. So we learned a lot from raising her. Then my son came 3 years later, or 2 years later, 2 years later. So we had a little bit easier time. But it was still, I think it was, without us both being there, it would have been harder.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Lucas, what's the strategy for United and Guided going forward? We've been doing it for 3 years in a row, and it's been pretty successful. What's the strategy? You want to tell us?
Well, I don't know. Part of it is what you're looking at. I think that the strategy really has to be around continued engagement. Of course, we have to embrace this digital society that we're growing into, this gig economy that we're growing into. And we have to make our outreach strategies reflect some of those employment trends and also social trends that are coming forward. This is not the same world as it was before COVID.
Right.
So, making that adjustment in how we communicate and how we outreach to fathers could make a big difference.
Yes. And what I will tell you is just one of the pioneers in the beginning is when we started this 10 years ago with the Black Parallel School Board, it was just two, like you said, myself and Ms. Miriam, passing out flyers to a couple of schools. And that was it. Then year 2, pretty much the same thing up until 3 years ago, when United and Guided took over the charge and they are doing a very good job. I have to say.
Yep.
We've had several schools. Mr. Lucas, you want to help me with those schools that has been added to?
Yeah, so for 2024, we are on the Million Father March tour. On August 14th, we will be in the Robla district at Taylor Elementary School. On August 19th, we'll be in the Twin Rivers Unified School District. That's Grant High School. That's Woodlake Elementary. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Technology Academy. And then there are a few others in that district that are still undecided, but we will have them on tour too. And then the following day is August 20th, where we'll be at the big district, Sacramento City Unified School District, which we will feature Luther Burbank High School, which we've been doing for several years. We'll be at Hiram Johnson High School, which is the 3rd year in a row out there. And because of United and Guided's new office location on 3810 Broadway, we are at the Cap City building now, right across the street from American Legion High School. So that is going to be our featured high school for Sac City Unified School District this year. And it is going to be a whole tour. We want our dads to come out and meet us at those particular schools. If you are unable to do that, make sure that you are going with your own child to the first day of school. We'd love to see a selfie picture of you doing that, shouting out the Million Father March 2024. If you send that video to us, we'll add it to a video collage and share it out on our social media.
And there you have it. Get to school with your babies on the first day. And Bakari, I want to kind of talk a little bit more about, I know the Black Parallel School Board has a parent guide, but before we get into that parent guide, the pledge that the fathers can take on the first day of school, could you tell us a little bit about that and how to find it, how they can take that pledge, and so, we get the word out.
Right. So now you asked me a question. I don't have the pledge right in front of me, but that's sorry about that. But when you go sign up for the event, which we'll put a link in your show notes or what have you, right?
Yes.
So when you sign up, you will get that in the email what those pledges are. And also we are passing out flyers with the QR code that will take you to the landing page. They have the pledges there. So basically, it's pledging to support your child, throughout the year and to get them ready and prepared for school, to go to meet the teachers, to help them with their homework, all those kind of things that parents know how to do, right? And just being able to commit, because that's what they need,
Correct.
And a lot of times they might tell you that, no, you don't need to do all that for me. No, they do. They really do. They really want to see you help them. So, and even though they act like that, not that they don't, but they do. They really do. And so it makes a difference.
And, I'm very impressed with the Black Parallel School Board because the Million Father March is just one of the components of your overall activism. And what I appreciate is that there's some entity out there that helps stand up for Black student and Black parent rights.
Right.
So thinking back just on some of the historic things you guys have done has been one challenging Sacramento Unified School District, around things like the no tolerance policies, the school to prison pipeline, restorative justice. All of those are so important. Why do you think that's so important for our community to know that that's been going on?
Yeah, having been a teacher in myself for a long time, in the 90s, and schools are a big kind of bureaucracy in the wheel. A lot of things going on there, right?
Yes.
And so you have to have parents and community monitoring what's going on because a lot of things kids get slip through the cracks, right?
Yes, correct.
And so what our job is to do is to look at Sac Unified and see what's going on. So part of the things we saw, we won a lawsuit on behalf of Black special ed students, right? Took many years to do that because the district was not doing what it needed to do. Same thing, the district had a $500,000 contract with the Sacramento Police Department. That money could have been going to counseling and other programs. So it took time to get that, to end that contract as well. Now our kids are facing the fact that a lot of them are coming out of school and they can't read. They're not getting the kind of instruction they need. I know LaShawna, you talk about having instructional aids in the classroom. I think that's still something that we need to do.
Absolutely.
Every teacher needs to have somebody else in that classroom besides he or she. So, and I know even when I was teaching, that would have been great to have that, because it's a huge responsibility. So that's what we do is, the Black Parallel School Board is to monitor what's happening to our kids. Next, so when you raise, the bar for our kids, when our kids start making it, everybody starts making it.
Correct.
And so this is why we do that work, and it's hard work because we have small staff, we're always challenging that particular thing, but we know that parents are the key. It has to be community led. Parents are the key, Black teachers are the key,
Right.
having supporters in the community, that's key, like your organization. All these things are key just to get our kids to graduate and be successful, right? And so, we just need it. We need it.
Right. And you think that would be a no-brainer, Bakari, right?
I know.
You think that that's something that every person would gravitate toward, right? But there's always challenges. What is the big challenge for our community, our community parents for getting engaged? And I understand the obvious ones, right? There's work and takes away from time, and there's making sure there's food on the table, there's being a provider and protector that are sometimes priority. But what are some of the challenges that you see in all of this work that you've been doing working with parents?
Well, I want to just iterate that is a challenge. Being able to work. I mean, like again, my wife and I were both there, but we had to work, right? And so, and then I worked from home, so it gave me a lot more flexibility when I did that. But that's a huge challenge. When you're struggling financially with your job and just things going on in your personal life, and then trying to raise kids who are also trying to just figure themselves out. That in itself right there is a huge challenge.
Correct.
And then two is if you don't have a district or school or teachers who don't respect your kids, don't respect Black people, that can be a huge challenge as well, right? So how are we going to know that is we have to monitor the school.
Yes.
Parents have to go up there and say, hey, I think this is great what's going on, but there's some other areas where it's not great.
Absolutely.
And so that's the reason why we're trying to start a parent advocacy program.
There you go. Yes.
So first off, we want parents to be involved. That means you're going to take your kids, find out what's going on with them, but then we ask you to extend it if you have that ability to start advocating on behalf of your kids and other kids in the school.
Right.
Yes.
To start joining the school site council meetings, to start any kind of decision making bodies, help the coaches and do what they do, to have some input on the decisions they're making at school.
Correct.
With the LCAP.
Yes,
LaShawna, you've been on that committee.
Oh, yes,
And so the LCAP committee is important. These are a lot of decisions that are being made on behalf of our kids, and if we're not there to give input, they can be left out.
And for those of our audience members who don't know what LCAP means, can you help
It's
us
the
understand?
local accountability plan. So that's the dollars for
Right.
our babies,
Right.
and we have to watch those dollars.
Right.
You have to advocate, and we as the Black Parallel School Board, we teach our parents how to read that budget,
Right.
and we see where those dollars are moving. Because the
Right.
tricky part, I'll just share a secret, if the school or district can apply for services in one area, high concentrated area, and they'll slightly say, well, they didn't use the dollars or they weren't needed for their school year, they'll kick it right over to that
Right.
general budget, and then that's cut. And then you find out our babies are not reading at grade level, and their math skills and other services that they should need
Right.
are all taken away because they're not really monetizing those dollars like they should.
Right. And
So-
LaShonda, tell them about the Chromebook
Oh.
that you advocated for
My
years and how it
goodness.
came about.
You're gonna bring it up.
Gotta bring that up.
No, seriously. And for those that don't know, I'm also on the executive committee with the Black Parallel School Board. Have been for almost 10 years or something. So there was a need for Chromebooks probably about 8 years ago, and we had been going to the school board meetings. I've been pleading my case in front of the school board members for years, and then finally it came around where it's almost like they have to keep hearing it over and over, and you have to be consistent for it to register. And we were getting promises that was broken until just the end of the school year. Unfortunately, it was the end of the school year. We had one. She's no longer on that board, where she's like, you've been coming, you've been advocating for our schools to get those Chromebooks because it's in the budget. The students need them to learn. That's the new way for them to, navigate the school system and get their homework done and studies, and sending them home for those scholars to do their homework. It had been just going on deaf ears for years. And then 1 year, I believe it was 2000.
I think it was COVID.
It was it's actually 2000.
okay.
I want to say 2017.
Oh, okay.
2017. Finally, I got up there with this. We were pleading our case, and they voted yes. They voted yes, and the Chromebook law was passed.
That's a beautiful.
And all the schools were able to get their Chromebooks. Now, mind you, these Chromebooks were already in the school. They were just in storage. And they had not been issued to the scholars. So, and then again, that was just one of many success stories due to the advocacy.
And
for
that
the
was
Black
so
Parallel School.
important. I was just so elated to that. And I know, what I remember more is when around COVID, when they had to have the Chromebooks.
Right, exactly.
But back then, to me, what I would say was that the Chromebooks was just as important as the desk in the classroom.
Yes.
Because, you're in a technological age, and you don't realize a lot of people don't have computers in their own.
Yes.
We take that for granted if you have them, right? And so that was a tremendous success. And I appreciate your work on that.
Thank you. And just a lot of work we've done with the Black Parallel School Board, just getting a lot of policy passed for our low performing schools. We been at this for a long time, so much work was needed on that. Could we talk about the parent guide? Are you?
Oh, you want to talk about?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, tell us what that parent guide.
Yeah. But about 3 years ago, like right around COVID, we reduced up. Should I show up here? We had a book. We created a book called the Parent and Student Guide for Academic Success, right? And basically, this is kind of a workbook. So it's not something you have to read, every page or what have you. But it has a lot of worksheets and things of that sort to help you get ready and plan for your kids' success, right? And so, it has template letters. It talks about how to have, teacher conferences. It talks about how to get ready for the IEP process. It talks about, graduation year. It talks about, habits of success. Self-care. There's a couple of pages on self-care, how to monitor grades, those kind of things. And so you can order it from Amazon, but we also do get free copies of this. And we have passed out quite a few of them. When we do have events, we always bring these to that. And you can come to our monthly meetings the first Saturday of each month. And if you really, really want a copy and you want to order from Amazon, we'll get you a copy for sure. Yes. So we're proud to be able to produce it. And it's just, we're not saying it's going to solve everything.
Right.
But it's just a tool that you can have to do. And I wish I had something like this
Right.
when I was bringing up, because even though I was a teacher, it's different when you're bringing up your own kids.
Yes,
It's
it is.
a whole nother world, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so they're doing that kind of preparation. And so, yeah, so this was what we brought out. And, we ordered some more copies and just so if you want one.
No matter where we put them out, we put some at a family justice center. They disappeared.
Yeah, right.
The
Yeah.
families grabbed them no matter where we've been
Yep.
putting them out, even at some in the beginning at our park events, the parents took them. So,
Right.
And it is a very good teaching tool for parents. So, advocacy. So,
Yeah, I really enjoyed
absolutely.
putting it together, and we had the committee. Now you got
How
the
long did it
input.
take us? How long did it take us to put that book
several
together?
months, several months,
It
and
did.
laying this thing out. So it was good.
It did. So, all right.
And then where would people be able to find the booklet?
Well, you can go on Amazon and look up Parent Student Guide for Academic Success. It's there too. But again, come to our meetings. I think we'll put something in the show notes or what have you. Come to our meetings on first Saturday of each month from 10 to 12, right? And say you want a guide, we'll get it to you.
Yes.
So, there's no problem there. We want parents to, get involved, and we really need your support. I think we've had a lot of parents come through our organization,
Yes.
but we oftentimes don't ask them to do some things. And so now we're making that a part of every meeting.
Absolutely.
And also ask them to give their input about what's going on at their school.
Correct.
Right? How can we support you, right? And so we're going to be doing that every meeting. And see, you won't get that going to the school board meeting. In the school board meeting, it's SAC Unified, it'll be like 2 minutes to get some input. So you'll have more than that. And so that's what we want to do.
Right.
I love it. So there you heard it.
There you go.
This Saturday is the first Saturday of the month of August. So be sure
Yep.
to reach the Black Parallel School Board. They're there from 10 to 12. And what is the address location, or is it virtual?
It's virtual. It's on Zoom. So it's Black Parallel School Board. I know it's kind of long, but blackparallelschoolboard.com.
There you go.
So, look it up there. Just Google it, and it'll get you a link there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And you'll be able to register. When you pull up the page, there's going to be a link, and it have all the highlights of how to register for the Zoom. And once you do that, you'll get an email confirmation and
Yep.
join us in from 10 to 12 on every first Saturday, this upcoming Saturday.
All right. So we're getting the call to wrap it
Yeah.
up.
All right.
Mr.
Well,
Bakari
thank you
Chavanu.
so much.
Yes.
You got any last minute shout outs you want to tell our audience out there in TV land? Just let them know.
Well, just thank you for watching, and I'm glad that this was recorded, so it's not live. But thank you so much for being checking this out, and hope to meet you one day.
All right. Well, there we are. Another episode of the Papa Bear Show, brought to you by Black Fathers in California Department of Public Health, Papa Bear's Village, and of course, United and Guided. And today, very specially, the Black Parallel School Board. I'm Imani Lucas.